One's a psychologist. The other needs one. This is Curry and Claypo.
Content may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hey, welcome back to Curry and Claypo. Dr. Josh Claypo, UAB clinical psychologist. I'm Tony Curry, KandKShow.com. You can find us on the internet. Of course, you can also tweet us at KandK Radio. How you, partner? Everything good?
I'm good. I got the blue memo. I like that sweater.
Thank you very much. It's my Mr. Rogers sweater. I wear it for every episode.
You know what they call? You know what we call that in?
It's my security blanket.
You know what we call that?
What's that?
In my faith,
What's that?
we call that a schmata.
Pardon me?
It's your schmata.
What's a schmata?
It's like a comfortable, slightly not dingy, but just sort of a comfortable old t-shirt.
Not old. I guess got for Christmas.
That's it.
I got your schmata right here.
Okay, schmata.
Hey, speaking of schmata, we brought the story up about a week ago, and it got a ton of response because from a moralistic viewpoint, people are like, dude, please. And you and I were kind of like, what's the big deal?
I love this.
Washington. And, you know, the states out west are weird,
I
right?
used to live in Washington.
I don't know if Fox 6 has affiliates out in Washington, but
They
we're
do.
fixing it. Okay. Became the first state to allow human bodies to be turned into compost. Rather than being buried or cremated.
I love that.
Governor Jay Inslee signed a law making it illegal for licensed facilities to offer natural organic reduction, which turns a body mixed with substances such as wood chips and straw into soil in a span of just several weeks.
Love
So as opposed to a body just decomposing, which would take, I guess, a few years.
Right.
I'm not sure how that process starts. I know when you add things to compost, it breaks down more quickly. I used to have a compost pile behind our house. Our neighbors has, and it stunk really bad.
Well, that's what yeah. So I love the idea. The process creeps me out a little bit because I've composted too, and you get like bugs and stuff.
If you do it right, it is amazing how good it is for your plants.
Right.
So our whole thing was, you have dead animals in your backyard, right? We all bury our animals in the backyard. We got like 16 animals buried in our backyard.
Yeah.
So why not bury grandma and grandpa back there if it's going to help your tomato plants?
Yeah. Well, particularly if you turn them into compost.
Exactly.
I think it's a fantastic idea. The thing I like about it is it fits with what is so psychological for us, which is we love symbols and memorials, and why not have a garden? People do this all the time. We planted a tree in remembrance of Grandpa, but think about it. We planted a tree, and Grandpa's helping the tree grow.
Exactly. I mean, we're a recyclable world. We're trying to do everything we can. I mean, the land's not going away, right? That's why real estate's so hot. I mean, they're not making any more land, right?
That's right.
So people are talking about cemeteries. They take up too much land. There's like millions. I think it's like 80 million acres of land are taken up by dead bodies.
Well, and
they're not going anywhere, so you might as well. So now this company, and they're not even in Washington, I believe it's in Oregon, they've taken it a step further where you get to go into a forestry area.
Yes.
And actually put a ribbon around the tree that you want to feed after you die. So people in their 30s are going, I like that big tree right there. I want to feed that tree.
Wait.
And then you live on forever because trees will live for 200 or 300 years old.
So you feed your remains, which are turned into compost.
As opposed to just putting stuff like in a garden.
Okay.
Like natural grow,
You're
or
right.
they call that stuff.
What kind of trees?
Any type of trees you want. Pine trees. What kind of tree you want to be? You want to be a maple tree?
I want to be a maple tree.
And why is that?
So that I can produce syrup. So you could go, when I die, you could come visit me and tap my tree.
I could tap some Josh Claypo and I could put you on my waffles.
Yes.
Is what you're
I think that's good. Wait, but there's infinite possibilities. What if it was a fruit tree? You could then pick an orange. You could pick a part of me off the tree,
I could peel
slice
you.
it up.
I could peel you and slice you up and eat you for lunch.
Yes.
That's just disgusting.
I absolutely love that idea. Now, obviously, I am sure, and I'm not an expert, but I'm sure it goes against all kinds of religious rules somehow.
You think?
Well, but I don't.
Catholics, you can't even be cremated.
Yeah,
you
but
have to go through the tradition of my point is this. Funerals cost like $10,000.
But
I just went through one with my dad.
Yeah.
You're taking a body that could be used for something else. You're putting it in a wood box that's going to decay
You're doing
anyway.
the same
and then what do we
thing.
do? We just walk over dead bodies when we go visit our
But
loved
that's what I'm
ones.
saying. It's you're.
Wouldn't you love to like climb Grandpa?
No.
No, I mean, you're putting
yeah.
compost under the tree. You could actually climb his tree.
You know, I love that. I mean, and the thing is, it's not that much different if you stick somebody in a box and you stick somebody in the ground. right? The box, the person decomposes at some point, depending on the material. Let's just say the material is wood.
Yeah.
It decomposes. It ashes to ashes, dust to dust, return to the earth. That part is a huge part of religious tradition. So why would composting be any different? You're just sort of accelerating it.
I think the composting is actually more negotiable for me than the actual cremation aspect.
The cremation
the whole,
part of it,
the whole urn thing, putting up on the, and I get it. And I'm not saying you're wrong by doing that. That wigs me out more than decomposting.
But we even
grandpa.
do that. So then we think about what we do with the urn. So some people put grandpa or whoever up on the shelf, and there's there. But some people go and spread their ashes. They spread their ashes in the backyard.
In the end zone of Jordan Hare.
What?
In the end zone of Jordan Hare.
Absolutely. So if you're going to do all that, why not make a garden grow? I love it. And then you can have your own maple syrup. I'm saying it here right now. I want to be composted, and I want to be placed under a maple tree, and I want my own brand of maple syrup when I'm dead.
And I'm afraid that if I was decomposed,
Dr. Josh's dead maple syrup.
I was afraid that if I was used as compost, I'd probably just have like weeds and poison ivy grow above me.
Ew.
What would that say about you?
I don't know. Well, then here's the whole other thing. I don't know how this works, and I guess it has to do with charges. Like, you're larger than me. You make more compost.
Yeah, I do.
So if you have a giant person,
I'll bet it's based on poundage. If I weigh 218 pounds and you weigh like $1.85, it's probably more expensive to have my body decomposed than yours.
Can you share your compost? Can you sell your compost?
Can you mix a marriage, like have a husband and a wife compost together?
Okay, I think we've gone.
Really,
I think
really strange.
we need to stop this.
Curry and Claypool, you can find us everywhere at KNKShow.com, KNK Radio on Twitter, and you can listen to us on KCast Radio. We're on every Monday through Friday morning between 7:30 and 9. This is the kind of great content you can hear every morning on KCast Radio. Download the KCast Radio app and do it now. It's Curry and Claypool. Welcome back to Curry and Claypool. Dr. Josh Claypool, UAB clinical psychologist, joins us. Of course, I'm Tony Curry, 40 years in the radio and television industry. We welcome you to another segment. I love relationships and I love dating. And there was an article that came out the other day that 1 in 5 Americans now feel more comfortable conveying messages through social media than
Oh,
they do
yeah.
actually face-to-face. So we're
Yeah.
getting into some weird areas of our culture right now.
Yeah.
But this particular case, this is something that's been going on for forever, but now it's got a name to it. It's called a foodie call. Not a booty call, but a foodie call.
Okay.
Evidently, a group of ladies, 300 ladies, and this was in the Social, Psychological, and Personality Science Journal, which I'm sure is on the back of your toilet, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a new study published. Surveyed more than 300 women about their personalities, opinions on gender roles, and how often they go on dates to not have sex or
What?
good conversation, but just to get a free meal.
Snake a meal.
33% of women admitted to participating in a trend dubbed foodie calls, where they wanted to have nothing to do with the dude, but just get free meals.
Free, I would assume free high-end meals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Where are we going to eat? And then
Yeah.
they'd probably go, Sneaky Pete's, I'm going to take a check. My grandma's in town, and
Yeah.
we're going to Highlands. Yeah, I'll go on to dinner with you.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I mean, it's not any different than trying to hook up with somebody. I mean, it's a foodie call versus a booty call. It's just the sad.
Yeah, but a booty call, you're always getting a booty call. I mean, if you go on a booty call, you know what's going to happen. A foodie call, I mean, you're not particular. And again, guys are goofy enough to think, and a lot of guys really will spend a shiny dime on a woman to make that good first impression. I know guys that are making $45,000 a year, and they'll take their first date to one of the nicest places in town.
Red flag.
Exactly.
See, I mean, that's
Well, they're trying to make a nice first impression. I appreciate that.
But that's the thing. I think that if you're going into it, particularly with the advent of the foodie call, I think you go in within your means, so that I mean, if you think about it, you know that on any given date, there's a chance that it's not going to lead to another date. So it's more the stated intentions. What I think is interesting about the foodie call is, how do you know if you were just taken on a foodie call or not, unless they tell you? In other words, they may just say, I had a great time, thank you, it was wonderful, you're not my type. But
and maybe there was some deception when you first went out with this gentleman, but you actually had a good time, and then it turns into another foodie call, and then it turns into a love affair. Then it turns into a booty call.
Well, it was if a foodie call becomes a booty call, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if it's a foodie call and it just continues to be a foodie call, you're basically he's your like sugar daddy, only it's more than sugar.
Have you ever had a woman outside your wife buy you a meal on a date?
Outside my wife?
Yeah,
before I was
you were
married.
married. I mean,
Yeah, I used to have. I mean, I'd have women who I'd date. They'd let me take you out to dinner, and I would be like, that'd be great. Not
Really?
on the first date. I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it on the first date. But look.
What was the occasion? Why would a woman buy you dinner?
I just
And
they
you
want
let them
to
do that because you're a gentleman.
Well, I had taken them out
Yeah.
on several occasions, and they said, "Let me buy dinner." I think that's great. Let me say
You
this.
didn't let them buy you dinner, though, right?
What?
You didn't let them buy you dinner.
I
You're
did
like,
let
you're like, okay, buy me dinner, and then you took the check when it came
No,
to
absolutely not.
dude.
If they insisted, absolutely not.
Well, insistent.
No, look.
For some people, think that when you
that
say insist,
is-
it's over.
Let's not play games. This is I get the whole thing about chivalry, and I get being polite and doing that thing, but if you're dating someone and they want to have the honor, the pride to take you out to dinner, why do you think we do it as guys? We're doing it as guys.
Well, because we control things and we feel like we're going to get something in return.
That's our biggest mistake. There's
But
red flag number one, but that's what I'm saying.
No,
So
it gives us control, and I get that. And I know women, say, listen, I want to buy
but
dinner.
it's not just control over what?
Well, your control over the evening somewhat because because of you, it's happening.
Yeah, so it's pride. It's I'm taking ownership of this. Don't you like when a woman says, you know what, I'm gonna take you out on a date tonight?
Yeah.
It could be your wife. I'm gonna take you on a date tonight. So I think it works both ways. The thing that I think is interesting about the foodie call is you may never know ever if you were just scammed on a foodie call unless they say, look, the only reason I went out was to
Wouldn't
go
you
foodie.
love to go on one of these dates, though, knowing that she's going just to get a free meal? How much fun you can have with that? I mean,
Yeah, you
first
could not
of all, I'm
pay.
going to go, hey, listen, we're going to the fish market. Oh, Dave, my table's gone.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to be hitting this hot dog stand in the corner and just make
I
it all
love that.
wrong. I mean, you could have a blast with
Oh,
it if
absolutely.
you knew that she was actually
Well, and
using
then at
you.
the end of the day, we were going Dutch, right? Right? Because I only brought half.
See, Dutch to me is like it's like staying in a relationship forever and never getting married. I'm like, if we're going to do this, let's do this right. If we're going to go out on a date and I want to show you a good time, I'm going to buy your meal.
I'm good with that, but when
a woman says I want to go Dutch, that's her way of saying I want to make sure I can leave this situation whenever I want to.
Well, and I think
I'm like, I'm going to pick you up. You talk about chivalry, it's dead now. I'm
but
going
I
to pick
think
you up.
it's
I'm going to open the
okay.
door.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay on a first. You talk about don't go out to dinner, grab a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. So
lunch.
grab
that way
lunch.
You can always go back to work.
But I do think it's okay. If the woman's not sure or the other person's not sure, say, I'll tell you what, let's just split the bill on this one. I don't think that there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. And I think if you get pissed off as the guy when she says that, you're setting yourself up for decreased chance of bonding with her.
And I think a lot of women would probably say, listen, let's go ahead and split the tab or let me buy you dinner. And when the guy accepts, she's thinking to herself, I can't believe he's letting me buy him dinner.
That's head games, dude. That's head games on both sides.
That's what dating is.
But that's not how you
games are dating.
But yeah, but you should not do that. Like it's either, look, particularly we're talking about buying food. You're either going to split the bill or not split the bill. He's either going to buy or she's going to buy. Cut all the sort of, I say that I'm going to buy, but I'm going to let him buy. That's a bunch of crap.
You think it's romantic when you order for her? Even if she hasn't looked at the menu?
Absolutely
Have you ever done that?
not. I think it's stupid.
Oh, I love that.
I think it's stupid.
No, you kind of feel her out while you're in the car and go, "Hey, so what?
You're living in
you
some
like fish? Are you a fish person? Are you a
Yeah.
steak person?" And then when you sit there and say, "I'm going to have the porterhouse," and she's going to have the 12-ounce filet, medium rare. Oh, they love that.
No,
they love that.
No,
that's not a foodie call.
This is the biggest problem, guys.
Oh no, that's a foodie turned into a booty call. Right
no,
now.
you
Women love
think
that.
they love that. They love it until
and she'll have the mac and cheese and the asparagus slightly crunchy with little salt.
That's right. And
they love that.
They love that until which point she goes.
Oh, and she's like, I can't believe this guy. I've just known him for half an hour. He's already ordering for me. Mom, you're not going to believe the man I'm going to marry. They love that, Josh.
Well, you just keep living in your fantasy world.
All right, you can find us all over the place at K&K Radio on Twitter, K&K Show on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, we're all over the place. And, of course, you can also find us on KCast Radio. KCast Radio, download the KCast Radio app. It's Android or Apple. It's very, very easy. It takes you like 10 seconds, and it never turns off. It stays on. It stays on forever. Like when you get back in the car from like a long vacation, it's still on. It's amazing. So make sure you do that and check us out 7:30 to 9 every Monday through Friday morning on KCast Radio, KCast Radio 1 on Twitter, right here with Curry and Claypo. Welcome back to Curry and Claypo, along with Dr. Josh Claypo, UAB clinical psychologist and extraordinaire of psychology all over the world. You're all over the place. You're in South Africa, and he's on National Geographic magazine on page 87, episode 113 from 1974. BBC. Throw out some more stuff. And, of course, you are Elite Daily. You are Mr. Elite Daily. We should call you ED. ED, Elite Daily.
Do check out
Dr. Josh E.D. Claypo.
Check out our hot topics on Curry and Claypo, and you will see all those articles.
So, just recently we had Michael Jackson's 10th anniversary of his death. It was actually on June 24th, 2009. I can't believe it's been 10 years since he died, and that was the biggest day in internet usage in the history of internet usage.
Makes sense.
And a lot of people are saying we'll never see that usage again because not only was he beloved, but he was strange, he was weird. A lot of people didn't like him, but you have to make the argument that he was probably one of the greatest musicians of our time. I know people compare him to Elvis Presley, and people don't like that.
So funny.
But I think it's really, really interesting because you're talking about a guy who really crossed over all genres of music. And then we talked about all the classic rock artists on KCAST Radio. We were talking about Mick Jagger. We're talking about Freddie Mercury. We're talking about Paul McCartney. Some of the people that he actually coincided with and collaborated with. Guy was unbelievable.
Well, he was Michael Jackson was a musician. And, you know, what I think is interesting is I don't know if we forget, but he started when he was, 5, 6, 7 years old. And so from Motown all the way through. So it wasn't like, I don't know, he didn't start off as I'm going to be a pop artist. He started off as was singing with his brothers, more sort of Motown-ish. And then continued to evolve. And we've all seen interviews with him. He was he was passionate about music and performance of all kinds. And I think that's why you saw this sort of collaboration. I think what rubbed people the wrong way, and it always does, is if we see things on the outside that make us uncomfortable. I'm not talking about the alleged child molestation, but the changes to his physical being. Why is he doing that? Why does he look strange? Why is he wearing strange clothes? Those kinds of things start sparking in us this kind of like uncertainty. We want to with artists. We want to say, well, it's just part of their shtick, right? It's part of that. But then when the molestation stuff started coming out, when he started doing more interviews, sort of talking about who he was, I think what happened for a lot of people was the performance part and the person part started becoming one and the same, and some people started losing respect for him as a musician because of who he was.
And we talk about, people are like, my goodness, they have it so good. They've got these big ranches, these mansions, and they're famous, and they can't go in restaurants without people staring and talking about them and everything else. You talk about Pat Benatar, we talked about on KCAST Radio that, she got pregnant right in the middle of her boom in the 80s and said, I'm out. I'm spending time with my kids. I'm not going to do it. She came back. She's still touring right now. So she's picking it up in her 60s. Patti Smith did the same thing with Scandal. She had a chance to go with Van Halen. She's like, I'm out. She's married to John McEnroe. She's got her priorities. Let me ask you this. Do you think Michael Jackson was authentic to himself?
To himself. I think Michael Jackson.
We talk about being authentic and being who you are and being real. I don't see how you can be.
No, I think Michael Jackson was a highly complex, troubled soul. I mean, I don't know if he was authentic or not. There's so many aspects to his life, from the sort of abusive father piece to the pressure of being a star. I mean, if you wanted to put ingredients for messing a person up psychologically, this is what, as a psychologist, I'm fascinated with this. Celebrity, particularly at an early age, you start throwing things in like that, having everybody watch you, having people mob you, having money thrown at you, having the pressure to perform, having a dad who was abusive, having going through puberty in the public eye, and having your voice change, and it being your sole way of making money, and having to keep that high. All that kind of stuff, that messes people up. And I think what we saw in Michael Jackson, and people have come out who knew him very well, spoke about this. His development, his psychological development was so stunted in some areas. Now, was he a professional a virtuoso in terms of performance. In that aspect, it was highly advanced. But in terms of sleepovers and that kind of weird kind of stuff.
And that's the part that probably bothers me most, because I really believe when he was on 60 Minutes with Ed, I really believe that he didn't see the wrongs in what he was doing. He was like, much so that he admitted it.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't have a problem sleeping in bed with little boys that aren't part of your family that.
Right.
No,
they're sleepovers.
Like, no,
there was a regret. We call it regression. There was a regressness to it.
And the parents that allow that to happen.
Right. So you take that, you take the physical, all of the surgeries that he had and sort of the changes that he was doing to his body. You then take in later years the issues around sleep and pain and sort of managing that kind of stuff. This was a guy whose talent was here, and his psychological makeup and his soul was twisted and tormented.
Can you make an argument that we were responsible for his death?
We as a society?
I mean, we created that monster, right? I mean,
but we create all the monsters.
But
I mean, yes, we are. We do it to all of our celebrities. Think about it. In an ideal world, I'm not saying a real world, in an ideal world, what should we do? We should appreciate their talents, music, athletics, what have you, and we should leave them alone, right? We should leave them alone. We shouldn't try to get into their business. We shouldn't follow them around. We shouldn't send them letters. We shouldn't do any of that. But we can't do that because we're human too.
And that's why you have to remember, when you're a person like Michael Jackson, who are your real friends. Even his family was leeching off of him.
Yes.
I mean, if you can't trust your family, you can't trust anybody. All right, it's Curry and Claypo. Find us on KCast Radio Monday through Friday mornings between 7:30 and 9. Every Monday through Friday morning. Download the KCast Radio app and get on it. And thanks for watching Curry and Claypo. The information provided by Dr. Josh Claypo is provided expressly for educational or general information use only and is not intended to be used in lieu of medical advice or emotional therapy. You should regularly consult a physician or other licensed healthcare provider concerning all matters that pertain to physical or mental health, particularly any symptoms that may require professional attention.